By the way, before I forget, I just started a second channel called Bethany Leo. I want to cordially invite you to a brand new experience. And I'll link that below, but I'll be uploading some new and interesting content over there starting within the next few weeks. So go and click the link below to subscribe so that you don't miss out, and then come back here to this video and keep watching. Some of you have been asking me questions like, where did you go? When will you upload next? Or did you quit YouTube altogether? While I didn't know I needed some time away, life just sort of took me by the hand and slowed me down and taught me some really important things during my past summer sabbatical where I was not creating content, and I just wanted to share a few of the insights I found with you today. Some of the advice will be light and funny, and then others are a little bit heavy, but let's just unpack everything that I discovered in hopes that it will help you in some way also. Plus, I think I had a light bulb moment where I resolved the majority of my insecurities that I think will just help every single human out there. Know the needs of other people. So I'm already a personality type junkie. Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, the 5 love languages. Gary Chapman, by the way, was a family friend of mine growing up, and he wrote that. So I just sort of quiz my friends on everything, and I think it gives me so much insight to understanding their point of view. But the other day, I heard a saying that goes something like this: a woman gets depressed when she is not seen, and a man gets depressed when he is not heard. And I feel like inside a relationship, this is the key to making the other person feel appreciated, but it's also true of every friendship that I want to cultivate. And of course, everyone wants both of those, but one is ingrained in us. So the next time that you're with someone who matters a lot to you in life, ask them which one means more to them, to be seen or to be heard, and just see if this statement is correct. Then you can adapt how you might phrase responses. Like if that person prefers to be heard, then after they tell you something, try to repeat it back to them, like, yes, I understand that blank. So in this case, yes, I understand that you like ham and cheese brioche buns, especially when you're about to say why you might disagree, like, but that's not what I want for breakfast. And then if they want to be seen, then you can tell them something that you love about what they're wearing or how they look physically. Establish a healthy routine, but it's not why you might think. Of course, routines are like for people who are super organized and productive, and maybe it serves as an advantage when everyone else is staying up late and sleeping in. But the actual reason why I've implemented a routine this summer is so I feel happier. Without a routine, I feel aimless and just a little bit more codependent, and I just sort of find that I'm needing some sort of anchor in my life. But while you can't always count on other people, it's best to know that you can count on yourself. And so my routine helps me with that, but it isn't perfect yet. But so far, I wake up at sunrise every morning. I go to the gym every weekday, and then Zach and I always go to our park every day for a walk. And so I spend a lot of time then at night winding down just to show myself gratitude for working hard during the day. And I know that if I work hard, I'm going to have that rest time coming up again the next night, and it just makes my life feel a little bit more predictable. Rock stars are people too. I think before this year, I had an idea of what rock stars were like, but when meeting Post Malone,
hi dearly Bethany, I love you,
unexpectedly, that is just one really nice guy. Like, he's completely genuine and just is really staying humble. Surround yourself with people who are older than you. This was the first year as an adult that I've intentionally been mentored, especially by people who are older than me. I have peers and I have people who I mentor them, but this was the first time in years that I have been mentored by someone who is older than me. So I've just really needed having these powerful women in my life who could help me be a better leader and a better business owner, and also a better friend. And so I watched that Netflix show called Living to 100 or something like that. And Netflix just autoplayed it like, Bethany, I need you to see this. And so I watched it, and they showed how our connection to elders are treasures to be valued, and it's ultimately them that allows us to excel in life. And this unlocked some sort of core memory for me because I have spent so much time growing up at my grandmother's rest home. So when I was about 8 years old, I did have friends my age, but most of the time I was there at her rest home, painting everyone's nails and making these desserts in the kitchen and just watching Sound of Music with a bunch of people who were about 80 years old on average. And this was in the 1990s, okay? So there were some people there who were 100 years old, and I always remember thinking, wow, that person is from the 1800s. I feel like that was such a rare opportunity because we can't really say that now. But this summer, I felt like I was so much healthier in my thoughts and grounded in my path forward, and so I just really knew the woman that I wanted to be. Always keep learning a new skill. Right now, I'm learning Italian. I started learning French and then my France trip got canceled, but my Italian trip is still on the radar, so I'm going to still plan that and hope for that. So I have a really long way to go still in learning Italian, but it is so fun to just imagine how my great-grandfather spoke this language, and honestly, it's much easier for me to physically speak than other languages that I've tried, but just learning a new skill in general makes you feel like you're always a student. And I feel like there are plenty of things that you can still find a passion for one day. There still is so much ground to be gained by all of these different things that I might want to do one day. Don't make it about you, make it about your mission. When meeting one of my mentors this summer, one of the biggest takeaways that just blew my mind was this. I was telling her about some insecurities that I have, and she told me that, ironically, insecurities come from a point of ego, and that I shouldn't listen to my insecurities. And I've never heard it presented to me like that. You'd think that insecurities are humility, but it's actually the opposite. It's like if you were in part of the military and you were given this role, and someone thought that you were qualified for the task, but you're just sort of shaking in your boots because you're not as convinced that you meet the standards as that person was. And this is because when you take focus away from the mission that God has given you and you start to make it about you, it distorts the mission and your role in it. And then it becomes how you're somehow not enough. And the question I always ask Zach at the end of a tough day is, hey babe, am I enough? And I laugh because I think what happens is I just aim so high, and then of course that's going to come with critique. I want to do amazing things and fun things and share what I've learned with people in the world, and the world's always going to tell me how I fell short, but it's really just confirming all of my insecurities, which is why insecurities are ego. Because if I am already aware of a shortcoming, no one can inform me of it because I've already overthought it. And this even goes back to when I worked as a UI designer. I was over a project that was bringing in $100 million for the company, and I was responsible for the entire user experience. And so I would just go home at the end of the day and bake cookies, sit in front of the oven and just watch those little round cookie dough balls turn into flat pancake shapes. And I would just be thinking about all I went through that day and tried to accomplish. But my mentor's message to me was so powerful because it's to God's glory that He uses people who are not enough. So I sort of pick myself back up, just remembering my mission, because in those times I feel weak, I need at the end of the day to just keep pushing on my mission, a mission that has nothing to do with me. And the more I just let go of my ego, the more I will accomplish as to my purpose. So assume that God is using you, and because of Him, you are enough. And the fact that I believe that my mission is to help women find confidence through what I post isn't lost on me, that I'm coming from a point of overcoming my insecurities and just sharing my solutions. And it's also not lost on me that when I discovered my Italian family's heritage, it was lost for generations, and their last name was Leonardo, which means brave as a lion. And so by adopting that name, Sometimes I have this voice in my head just telling me that I'm the most cowardly lion if there ever was one. But I know that God knew that that was my family name before I did. And here again, the mission is greater than the person. Men, it's beautiful to see you cry. This summer, I really hurt my finger on the pool chair. Like, I have a scar from it. I pinched it bad enough that I thought I was going to need stitches, and I really wasn't certain at that moment like how bad off it was. So I went inside with Zach, and he got me some ice, and I told him that I feel faint. And so I sat down, and my head just got really heavy. And I told Zach about that, and then the next thing I knew, I was loving my dream, and Zach woke me up from it. Rude. And he was holding me, and I was on the floor, and he just said, "Bethany, you don't know what just happened." And then he sort of just held me there for a minute or two. I didn't know what was going on, but my hair was just soaked with this man's tears. Apparently, I had fainted, and I'd hit my head pretty hard on the ground. And apparently, I was making some really weird noises too while I was unconscious. And he had just very carefully pulled me out from under the table, and he thought something really serious was happening to me. This man was just holding me with his big muscles and sobbing into my hair. And just honestly, we've been together for like 15 years now, and I can count on one hand the amount of times I have seen him cry. And I've always known that he loved me, but I never really knew how much until that day. Get a bigger picture. When I was in art class, there were two types of students that I would notice. Some would sketch out the entire composition and just work in layers, adding more and more detail as they went through this design process. Other students would hyper-focus on a little corner of their drawing, like just one little piece of the whole canvas. And this is much harder to get the piece finished on time with the same level of care throughout the whole canvas with a good composition. So I'm gonna give you one more little analogy or metaphor before my point. Whenever I'm on a plane, I look out the window and I realize how we're all just really tiny people. Problems start to feel insignificant when I consciously remember to see my life this way. So this is honestly why I love having mentors, but it's just giving me this broader perspective on life. And that's pivotal if you need clarity on what actually matters so that you can focus on your future as well as its correlation to your past. And to just look at your life from a broader view, to look at your whole canvas and just see the composition of the purpose and the goals and the message, and just zoom out, and so you can see how you're part of a bigger world. So I took a good portion of my summer just revising my long-term goals and what I want to accomplish as far as different goals that I have and the opportunities that I have and the time that I have to do them, paths that if I choose one, I can't really choose another. And so this is really where it's important to zoom out, to get advice. And then don't just choose paths because other people want you to take them, but actually something that you would choose for yourself. And that just makes your pillow so much softer at night. And sometimes that just will also prevent mistakes so that you can sort of reset your aim. So let me know in the comments which one of these little pieces of advice resonated with you the most and in your life. And with that, I will see you in the next video.